So we did a video recently of how to start tomatoes, sort of here, on a heat mat. So I've got heat mats over here. So now they're all up. These were started, we're here on March 20th, and these were started, this one was Norwood Miners, on March 2nd. That other number on there is the lot code. So what's interesting is that was seed that was 10 years old, and it germinated just about perfectly. So as long as you store seed, it'll still work. And then what we do is we put them in these nice deep pots, and they've got space for air and water to drain out. And I'll go ahead and fill one here. This is our pot and soil mix, of which we've got a couple videos that show you how to do that. And it's basically sand, 1 part sand to about 2 parts compost that we make here on the farm. And I put a little bit of eggshells in there, and that's the white stuff you see. And what you can't see is a trace amount of kelp, which is for trace elements. And I just get powdered kelp. You could harvest your own, but you got to make sure to wash off the salt. So fill this up with soil. And here's an important thing. Doesn't matter what size you're doing, you can see how that looks full now. But if I pick it up and drop it, you can see how much they settled. So, and as you water, it'll continue to settle. So I always do the drop test. So I'll take this, and these particular trays hold 36 plants, and I've learned the timing that works well for us to have nice sized tomatoes that aren't too big to plant out at the end of May. So then, see, I've started them in the heat mat, and that's a lot of tomatoes all grown together, and that way I've concentrated my space on my heat mats because I have limited heat mat area.
And if you had more heat mats, you would just be direct seeding them into these pots and starting them on heat mats.
Some folks, you know, farmers will do them in plug trays. So then what I do is I just poke my finger in there gently. You want to handle the seedlings by the leaves. In case you damage a leaf, it has more than one, but the plants only have one stem, and if you break that stem, then... And you can see I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into it. I'm gently pinching them in there, and then these will grow into really nice tomato seedlings, and there's enough nutrients in the compost in here that I don't really have to fertilize until I am planting them out. And I've been doing this for years, and it works fantastic. I like these deep pots. If you can't obtain these, something like this, like a 3-inch pot, would do fine. But you can see how these take up more space. So we do have limited greenhouse space, as do probably most of you. So I like the deep pots for that reason. And you get the idea here. And it's really important, like today's supposed to be in the upper 70s, so I'm here in the morning, to water them in well and then check back in a couple hours because you've really disturbed their roots. Because there's, even though you can see roots on there, there's root hairs that are microscopic and you just won't see very well.
Where did you learn this strategy from?
I can't even remember where I did. Well, the idea of using open trays like this, either plastic or wood, I learned from my friend Harold Hoven, because you can think back before the advent of plastic, people just made boxes out of wood, and they would start their seeds in them, and then, you know, move them out or just grow them in those wood trays until they're ready to put outside. And that's Harold Hoven for many years ran the Rudolf Steiner College biodynamic farming program down in Fair Oaks, California, and did a pretty bang up job there. So you can see here I've got, you know, 36 seedlings just about all planted out, and now they have room to thrive in this warm weather. An important note on this is they do not need to go back on a heat mat at this point, because a really important note too is to label them, because we're saving seed. And then I have some extra seedlings here, and this is one thing I do, and I want to encourage everybody to be a good gardening neighbor and plant extras for your friends. So I'm just going to stick these extras in here, and then invariably somebody will ask me like, hey, I didn't get around to planting tomatoes. Can you share some with me? And I can say yes. So I'm going to write what that is on there. And these are called Willamette. They were bred at the University of Oregon a long time ago. Or OSU, I'm sorry. So here, now we'll, oops, for that, we'll water them in. And these get pretty heavy, so make sure your tables can handle the weight. And grab the water.
Just to give people an insight into your farming career, did you learn most of this just by doing it, or did you have a lot of teachers?
Well, there was no YouTube, so you learned through books or mentors. And in a way, I like mentors better, and books too, because you can always go back and check a book later, or ask mentors. But so you can see these laid down flat after that heavy watering on there, and I've got a pretty good diffuser, but they'll be fine later. But I do want to check on them and just see how we're doing.